49ers season ends in Seattle. It ends where it began week one. I uploaded a post-game video last night. There's probably 10 to 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But, obviously, I think really early on in the third quarter, that game was pretty much all but over. So if you guys haven't watched that, definitely go check that one out. Yeah, man, off season is here. I'm not going to sit up here and say that, I'm not pissed off about the way that the season did end. Because I definitely think the 49ers had a chance to win that game without a doubt. I think Kyle Shanahan said it best, though, following the game. It simply was not their night. They battled, man, this entire year. It was, if there was a theme to describe, the 2025 49ers, it's simply probably, it's got to be either resilience or next man up. Losing Nick Bosa, your first round pick, and Mykel Williams, both of those guys to torn ACLs. Fast forward a couple weeks later, Fred Warner breaks his ankle. You don't have Purdy for, pretty much half of the season. Pearsall, don't have him for pretty much half of the season. Kittle tears his Achilles, but he battled through the hamstring injury that he suffered week one. Multiple guys that went down. I really want to know the percentage of salary cap of players that went down. Like what was the percentage of the salary cap that was hurt this year? It's got to be over 60, 70, maybe even 80% of the 49ers salary cap out with injuries, or not salary cap, but over 80% of the 49ers salaries this year were hurt, and not just hurt, but I'm talking season ending, big time injuries. Just can't, there's not a lot you can do when that happens. And I think, again, credit to Seattle. I mean, they were clearly the better team. That game is a lot different, though, if we're fully healthy. And I know it really doesn't matter saying that now because it is what it is. Again, I think the 49ers had a chance to win that game with who they played last night. But yeah, man, I mean, they simply got as far as they could possibly go with what they had, and that was the divisional round. And to be one of the four remaining teams, in the NFC conference is, again, I mean, I said this multiple times, but it's truly remarkable and sensational what Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh were able to do this year with the roster. Obviously a big offseason is ahead. You got the draft coming up. There's a lot of guys that are going to come back and get healthy. And you just got to give it another shot next year, right? I mean, obviously it sucks knowing that, the 49ers had to go through what they went through this year, while knowing the Super Bowl was in San Francisco and what could have been, a Super Bowl home game. But it is what it is, man, at the end of the day. Again, big off season ahead, though. A lot of guys got to get back healthy. We have the draft, we have free agency. The 49ers have around $50 million in cap space heading into the 2026 offseason. So, if I could kind of circle maybe two or three of the, biggest areas of need that this team has, number one, I would definitely say wide receiver. I think with what the 49ers were able to do with who they had this year. Obviously Brandon Ayuk, being the great teammate he is, basically quit the team. Good riddance to that guy. Get that dude the hell off my team. But no, I mean, you got a selfish, prick in Ayuk that quits the team. Obviously they didn't have Debo. They traded him last offseason to Washington. But I think Ricky Pearsall, I mean, he was coming into this year, he was really looking to be, the 49ers number one option, and it just kind of simply didn't happen. He dealt with too many injuries. Jawan Jennings played remarkable this season, I thought. Kendrick Bourne, the 49ers being able to get him after New England released him. I thought, especially when you think about Kendrick Bourne, the first thing that comes to my mind was the I don't remember exactly what week it was. It was back in October, I believe, or late September. But when the 49ers traveled to LA to take on the Rams with Mac Jones and a depleted 49ers team, and Kendrick Bourne having the game of his life to lift the 49ers to a win that week, that was remarkable what he was able to do that week. But Kendrick Bourne also had a couple other good games as well. I mean, he came in and really stepped up, and gave Brock Purdy and gave Mac Jones a reliable weapon for a decent amount of time, pretty much the entire season. I mean, obviously there were games that Bourne was almost a but I don't like saying a non-factor, but there were games that he went off, but there were also games that he didn't get the targets or things like that. So but yeah, what Kendrick Bourne was able to do from coming in, I mean, obviously he was familiar with this system, familiar with the locker room and the team. Demarcus Robinson, I mean, obviously suspended the first couple weeks. Demarcus Robinson's best game was either against the Indianapolis Colts, which was actually a game that I was at. Played phenomenal against the Colts. As a more recent, when last week in Philly, Demarcus Robinson torched the Philadelphia secondary. So I mean, there were guys that stepped up, right? Obviously Pearsall banged up, Jennings phenomenal year. So I mean, at the end of the day, wide receiver to me is a big area of need. You're not getting Ayuk back. He's definitely being moved on from, as he should be. I think Ricky Pearsall has a bright future. He's just got to stay healthy. That's pretty cliche to say, knowing that, the 49ers have been the most injured team since 2014. And yes, I have saw the electrical substation theory. At this point, I don't know what else. I don't know what else it could possibly be. So you gotta look into it to some degree. For those of you who don't know, there's an electric substation that's right next to the 49ers facility, and there's studies out there that show that this can weaken tendons and basically put the 49ers at a much higher risk of injury, due to the electromagnetic fields or something along the lines of that. I don't know. You guys will have to look into it. But I mean, again, I think it's at least worth maybe looking into to some degree. There's no reason why this team should be as injured as they are year in and year out. But yeah, again, going back to what I was saying, I definitely think wide receiver is a massive area of need. You're going to have to go out and get somebody. Maybe trade for Justin Jefferson. Make a big splash move in the offseason. Like maybe exploring a trade for Jefferson. Obviously, that would take a lot of compensation, but The 49ers need to really go out and get a solidified number one wide receiver. They're practically dealing with a bunch of wide receiver twos. I do think Pearsall could very well become a number one for this team. He's not healthy, right? Like he gets banged up a lot. 49ers need to go make a splash move for a wide receiver in the offseason. AJ Brown could potentially be another target. I think AJ Brown is, all but done in Philly. There was a report that came out yesterday that said that he had requested a trade multiple times throughout the Eagles season this year. So maybe explore a trade for him. I would say another big area of need, in my opinion, is probably the secondary. I think they have to bolster the secondary at corner. I think safety could use some help. Love Malik Mustafa. I think Jair Brown had a pretty good year for the most part. Obviously he was counted out a lot. He had a strong rookie year and then kind of fell off after that. But I thought Jair Brown played fine. Obviously didn't play last night. He had the hamstring injury, I believe. But they need to bolster the secondary, get more depth. Interior offensive line, in my opinion, is another very big area of need. Get some depth there. And then tight end. Tight end is going to be a big area of need as well. I mean, the 49ers utilize the tight end so heavily within this offense. And, obviously with Kittle tearing his Achilles last week, he's more than likely not going to be ready for the start of the season. You have Luke Farrell in terms of, having a blocking tight end. And I think Tonj has played very well. Not discrediting, him at all for that. But 49ers are going to have to get depth at tight end. And it's as simple as that. They're going to have to get another pass-catching tight end. So again, I mean, interior offensive line, tight end, wide receiver, secondary help. Again, you got $50 million in cap space. I think John Lynch is going to have to be aggressive this offseason, maybe trade for a big-time wide receiver. This Super Bowl window is very much so still open. I mean, the 49ers had a very good draft this year. Being able to get guys like Upton Stout, what a phenomenal season Upton Stout had. I mean, obviously was very high on him when they drafted him, but Upton Stout, phenomenal year. He's going to be a very good player for a long time. I think Marquise Siegel, phenomenal draft pick. Alfred Collins, CJ West. The 49ers hit on a lot of players in last year's draft. A lot of players that will become starters or that already are starting, but they're going to continue to for a very long time. So I think they had a really good draft last year. Just a very young defense, right? Like young, they're going to continue to grow. But I'm amped and pumped for the rookies from last year's class for the future. I think they nailed on a lot of picks. One thing that comes to mind when I think of Alfred Collins is going back to the Rams game in LA, Kyron Williams takes a power up the middle. Alfred Collins comes out of nowhere, punches the ball out to give the 49ers the ball. Just plays like that, man, that kind of, when you look back, you think of that stuff. And that was a rookie in Alfred Collins making that play. So a lot of special young rookies that this 49ers team had this year, and that are going to be good players for a very long time. So, again, man, like there's some areas of need. The Niners Super Bowl window, without a doubt, is still wide open. All it takes is, a couple big time moves in free agency to put this team, exactly where it needs to be going into 2026. So, or I guess going into next season. But yeah, man, I definitely think, that there's when you look back, there's a lot to be proud of and excited for the future. I mean, again, for me, man, it's the rookie class from last year. I think there's a lot of good players that, the 49ers were able to grab in the draft that really showed, true potential. So, got to get guys back healthy, got to, attack the areas of need. On the other side of things, obviously 49ers could very much so lose Robert Saleh. I mean, he's going to be a pretty hot candidate for a head coach vacancy. Thing with Saleh is, he's already conducted a couple interviews. I know Atlanta was one of the teams that he interviewed for. Atlanta hired Kevin Stefanski yesterday. But obviously, you still have the Pittsburgh job open, Arizona, Cleveland, Baltimore. The list goes on. So he's going to be a hot candidate. Obviously, wouldn't be surprised if he ultimately takes a head coaching job. Miami's open. I think the biggest thing with Saleh is, obviously when the 49ers brought him in last offseason, I think everybody kind of knew that it was going to be very hard to see Saleh being the defensive coordinator for more than a year. So obviously when expecting that, it sucks, don't get me wrong, if he leaves, but it's not surprising. I mean, I think every 49ers fan out there kind of knew when they got him, it was likely going to be a 1-year rental before he was going to become a head coach again. So Saleh could potentially be gone. And then Clay Kubiak, the 49ers offensive coordinator, could very much so become a head coach as well. Clay Kubiak has a couple different interviews. I want to say he's got one with the Raiders, the Steelers. That guy's going to be a head coach very soon. Same with his brother, Clint Kubiak, who is actually the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. But yeah, I mean, Clay Kubiak, what he's been able to do. I mean, Kyle Shanahan speaks very highly of Clay Kubiak. He could potentially get a head coaching job as well. And then, obviously the 49ers are then going to have to fill a defensive coordinator as well as an offensive coordinator. There's a couple guys out there that come to mind for coordinator roles if the 49ers end up losing Saleh and or Kubiak. For offensive coordinator, the guy that immediately comes to mind, Mike McDaniel. He was fired from the Miami Dolphins. I know he's got a couple head coaching interviews. He's interviewed for the Lions offensive coordinator job. Mike McDaniel, I'd definitely welcome him back with open arms as the offensive coordinator if Clay Kubiak leaves. And then defensive coordinator, a guy that immediately comes to mind, Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris was fired by the Atlanta Falcons. Doesn't really look like he's going to get another head coaching job this go around. But Raheem Morris, very well respected. He was, the Rams defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl in 2021. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of candidates out there that could potentially replace Saleh and or Kubiak if they leave. So it's going to be a fun all season. Obviously didn't end, the way that everybody wanted, but it is what it is, man. The team battled and they simply went as far as they possibly could. And that was the divisional round. So, yeah, I'll be back, soon with more videos covering, the off season as we get closer to the off season. But, yeah, man, as always, go Niners. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this 49er season in the comments down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts on, where the 49ers need to address the biggest areas of needs going into the offseason. But, yeah, as always, go Niners. I will see you guys in the next one.